A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason through the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome in to One Giant Step. We are one Giant 3 preview pods away from being able to talk about the best part of the Giant year, the offseason, and Black Monday. But we got 3 more of these to grind through: the Minnesota Vikings, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Dallas Cowboys, as the Giants hold that number 1 pick in the draft. And we sit here after the Giants survive one of the quote-unquote winnable games in terms of a loss, on their path to trying to get the number 1 pick. And full disclosure, before we get into this whole pod, you want to download, subscribe. I am Shaun Morash. He is Bryce Gelman. Anywhere podcasts are available. We know that a lot of other things are probably on people's mind other than Giants football as we hit the holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas to all those that celebrate. Next week's pod is going to be full. It's going to be like the Super Bowl, previewing the Giants and Raiders, assuming the Giants lose this game, in terms of what a loss means in that game. It's truly remarkable. But you do have the Minnesota Vikings coming into the Meadowlands on Sunday. Bryce Gelman, who was sick. You know Bryce Gelman's sick because he's a real pig for camera time. He's a real pig for microphone time, and he could not record a reaction pod to Washington. Bryce, we're all back. We're fully healthy here?
Dude, I'm back. And better than ever. Listen, it sucked. And people don't know, I was in my bed producing it while Shaun was actually hosting the podcast. And it killed me. It killed me to not be able to join you. And, you know, there was just so much to talk about that I missed out on, Shaun.
Yeah, so. And not to be revisionist, but it's not like we have to preview a ton about a Giant Viking game. Was there anything I said on that reaction pod that you disreactions with? That you want to keep about?
No. Listen, I was sitting there kind of like doing my reactions in my own head. I had no voice. I had nothing. The Jackson Dart stuff was interesting. It opened my eyes to the idea of it being blown out of proportion. I thought, personally, at this point, he's got to stop with the, taking the big hits. But at the same time, it's not like they've been allowing him to do so in the one play where, the play where it happened, they pulled him out. Even Vilma, who's terrible, by the way, and I heard what you said.
We get him again this week.
I know. The two of them are terrible. Respect to Kenny. I kind of know him personally, but it's more Vilma than Kenny Albert. But when I saw that, when Vilma, saw that in real time, he said, "What the hell? What?" And then they pull him out for the play, and they bring in Jameis Winston. Whatever happened there, he's got to stop with that. But at the same time, we got to stop with the discourse that this is a thing until he gets concussed again. If he gets concussed again, fine. Okay.
Sure. I agree.
We'll shut up. We'll eat our words. Until then,
I'll just continue a couple more anecdotes because it's still like the most interesting story in Giant Land, because obviously Jackson Dart answered for it and everything. I just want to remind everybody, because I've already rewatched the game. The play they take him out for, Jackson Dart is doing the exact thing people are asking him to do. He is going down to the ground. So my only other response to like taking him out and the idea of like, he's got to be careful, go to blue tent. I understand he's not a veteran, but when a quarterback's going down to the ground and he gets hit, and oftentimes you scream and yell, well, what's a defender supposed to do in that spot? Like, call the penalty then. If you want Jackson Dart to be protected, call the penalty. If he's actually going down to the ground like that and he gets hit, the reaction shouldn't be he's in a blue tent. The reaction should be a flag on the field. But I'm not going to cry about that, because at the same time, I understand that there's only so much a defender could do. Now, that being said, I'm fresh off the Evan and Tiki show, and I watched most of Hard Knocks on my train ride home. We're taping this on a Wednesday night, so I still didn't see the full thing. And I know there's a clip going around the internet.
I was going to bring this up,
where it's Dan Quinn talking about how you got to treat Jackson Dart like a running back and, hit him. And they show the replay of what happened versus New England. And now that's like gone crazy. I just want to calm everybody down about something, because then Jackson Dart got asked about it during Wednesday's media availability, and he talked about how this is nothing new in his life. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban is at least a game plan for him too. Okay, just Bryce, I'll let you react to everything once I just kind of make 4 or 3, maybe whatever bullet points on this. Okay. Remember, this is a TV show that has unlimited access to everything these teams are talking about. They are covering the 4 teams in the NFC East. The Washington and Giants game is one where they get to cover 2 division teams playing each other that suck. There is not much that from a TV standpoint they're going to be able to repurpose and turn over. So what is a sexy NFL topic on everybody's mind? Oh, people in New York are talking about Jackson. So of course they're going to show what Dan Quinn says to his team about that. And I would just say that to say this. Do you think same conversations are had when talking about facing Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, that the guy is like a running back? Of course they are, but this is like the meat on the bone we're getting when covered with TV. Number two, Jackson Dart, again, is a running quarterback. So this conversation is always going to be had. It's about how many times he slides and goes down, and he's continuing to do that. I didn't think it was nearly as sexy a clip, and that's why I laughed when Jackson Dart kind of reacted to it. Like, we're still being asked about this by Paul Schwartz. It has become, I'm just going to use the word, it's become a lazy thing to ask about. And the people that have reacted to oh my God, he's been in the blue tent this many times, not going to have a long career. I think we've also learned the lesson. I made this point. Bryce just brought up a great point. Look, he gets a second concussion here. We could really have the talk then. But until we get to that second concussion, you can't make the case that he's like this injury-prone quarterback. He keeps showing you that he's not. That he's not. So that's where I'm at on that.
You want to know why this is so over-sensationalized? Of course, it's the New York market, and anything is going to be blown out of proportion like this has been. Giants reporters have not done the Giants Jackson Dart any favors.
Well,
nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about. But the Giants also haven't done their
and this is why this happens.
Yeah, the Giants haven't done their
reporters ask about it. The more the Giants comment on it, the more the national beat writers pick up on it. And that's the biggest issue behind this.
So it's a circle, Bryce. The Giants aren't winning games, and the only thing that's sexy about the Giants season is the rookie quarterback. The sexiest thing about the rookie quarterback right now is this Blue 10 story, so they keep asking about it. But then at the same, so the Giants aren't giving the reporters enough to write about, but the Giants also could nip this in the bud. Like, I still maintain Mike Kafka's answer a couple weeks ago, and it didn't click with me in real time. It was a stupid answer, which was, of course, we want him to protect himself. Like, he's got to do, like, they wanted to hammer home that point. They should have shut it down for the media, been, yeah, Jackson Dart is who he is. He's working on protecting himself. He'll continue to do so, and bring up how much he is protecting himself. Don't rely on podcasters to keep showing you. How many times are we going to show you that Jackson Dart keeps making these slides, and it's the one or not every quarterback slides on every single run. The one or two times now he continues to do it is the one or two times you go, oh my God, he's not protecting himself. Josh Allen's running through people, May's running through people, and perfect transition time, Bryce. On Sunday Night Football, JJ McCarthy was lowering his head and running through people. And Chris Collinsworth went out of his way to say several times on Sunday night's broadcast, that's the way a quarterback should act. Physicality, go through this. JJ McCarthy is doing the same exact thing, actually more than what Jackson Dart is, but he's not getting sent to the blue tent because now he doesn't have his narrative around him. So let's get into Giants and Vikings and JJ McCarthy. And I've learned this week that the kids are calling him 9. As JJ McCarthy's had a nice bounce back since
it's known as a bad thing around sports when quarterbacks or just any athlete gets 9'd. Like there's, I don't know.
Oh, that's a thing? Like it's a bad thing?
I don't know if you've seen the picture of JJ McCarthy.
Oh, right.
Like in the locker room.
And they're putting like different faces on him.
Yeah. A lot, what other people are doing with that other guy. If you've seen it, you've seen it. But they've been doing that with every terrible athlete. You have a bad game, you get 9'd. It's hilarious.
Okay, so I'm getting this from Viking fans. I guess they're flipping it now that he's played well for 2 weeks, where they're like,
"Oh, it's still a bad thing."
Okay,
I think it's still a bad thing.
I've had a lot of Viking fans in my mentions calling him 9 in a positive way now. So that's maybe they're like internalizing owning it. I don't know. Okay, so let's just get into this. The Vikings have had a nice little bounce back. They played whatever that lump of sack of turd was a couple of weeks ago, quarterback. McCarthy's come back and he's pieced things together, and he's allowed to obviously get better and improve it. I would say that about every young quarterback. I'm not exactly sure that this suddenly means JJ McCarthy is going to be this awesome elite quarterback in the NFL in what has become a lost season for him and the Vikings. They're not going anywhere, but they have to feel better about the way they've played for a couple weeks. But what JJ McCarthy presents in this game, Bryce, and it's something that everybody is really pounding the table for. The very few things we all agree unanimously in Giant country about seems to be, or now the newest thing seems to be, Joe Schoen's got to go at the end of the year. And the prevailing thought when everybody assumed Joe Schoen was safe, and Ian O'Connor put this out, was, don't be so sure. I mean, the Giants seem to be overreactionary to late season surges, and they've won plenty of these games in recent years in late season, and that maybe a full crumbling at the end would truly get Joe Schoen fired. As we sit here today taping this, I'm not 100% sold because I don't trust this organization that Joe Schoen is in fact getting fired. Everything they told you that he wouldn't be, it doesn't mean he can't. However, if you want to build that resume and think that the Giants will be reactionary to this last month, I actually think this game versus the Vikings presents a big reason why Joe Schoen can be fired. I'm calling it Joe Schoen's final straw game here, Bryce. Two things can be true, right? Giant fans, Giant content creators, I know on this podcast specifically, I can speak for Bryce and myself. We were not draft JJ McCarthy guys over a year ago. There were JJ McCarthy ties. He visited the facility, and people thought, oh, if the Giants aren't getting May Daniels or Caleb Williams, maybe they do take JJ McCarthy. We never bought into that smoke. I was told by people in the building that when JJ McCarthy came into the Giants facility, they met him, that when he left, the assumption, and I'm not sure where this was, front office, whatever it was, JJ McCarthy we're not taking him in the first round. JJ McCarthy looks more like a science 8th grade student than he does an NFL quarterback. That was like a quote I got. And I think that the Giants, for the most part, have been shown to be right. They waited a year. They take Jackson Dart. And I think if you asked anybody around the NFL, who would you rather have the future of right now? They would say Jackson Dart, not JJ McCarthy. That doesn't mean that can't change. It doesn't mean JJ McCarthy's not allowed to middle finger toward everybody and take off. I would side that way. And I think the majority would side that way. And Bryce, I'm assuming you would side that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we all agree on that, that's fine. But here's the truth. Joe Schoen spent a ton of money on defense. He signed Javon Holland. He signed Paulson Adebo. Dexter Lawrence is making a pretty penny. They made the trade for Brian Burns. They invested draft capital in Abdul Carter. They invested, draft capital in Deontay Banks, who was stunk. But Cordell Flott was a third-round pick. They spent money on Bobby Okereke in free agency. Like, the Giant defense is like a top, 6 or 7 unit in terms of money spent on their defense. In this game, if a defense that seems like it quit weeks ago continues to look like it quit and continues to get gashed, and the same team, remember this, last year the loss that pissed John Mara off the most was week 1, Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. At the time it was Sam Darnold, the Giants wearing the 100th anniversary jerseys. There were so many alumni and their family in the building, and the Giants were embarrassed by the Minnesota Vikings, and that game resonated throughout the whole season.
Pick in that game? Was that who picked off Darnold in that game? I don't complete.
It was Darius Muasau in his first ever game.
Was it?
Yeah, he was on the field. I'm pretty sure it was. Look it up.
Huh.
Yeah, pretty sure it was Muasau. So
keep going. I want to.
Okay. That game was embarrassing. So the Giants and Vikings, that's a game that stings on the Shane and at the time Dable resume. Here are the Vikings back in the Meadowlands a year and a half later. And instead of Sam Darnold, it's the quarterback that Joe Schoen didn't take a year ago. And it's the defense that he spent a ton of money on. If the quarterback you told ownership was no good to draft embarrasses a defense that you oversold would be better.
It was Musa.
Thank you. What a memory I have. See, I'm a Giant. That's why I need to listen to One Giant Step. Do you see what I'm saying here, Bryce? When you put together the pieces, how do you look at ownership going, wait, we just got embarrassed by the Vikings again? Joe, isn't that the quarterback you said was no good to pick? And he did this versus the defense that you put together? That is if you want to talk about the Giants overreacting the final 4 games in terms of making firings, I actually think it's the most interesting thing that can come out of Giants-Vikings is JJ McCarthy embarrassing this defense. How, again, do you justify keeping Joe Schoen?
I think this is going that route. Like, going into this game about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we circled this game and thought, this is a game the Giants could win. The Vikings put up multiple duds. They scored 6 points in 2 weeks combined. They were a mess. JJ McCarthy looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the worst quarterback to play. And that's not hyperbole. He looked terrible. But when push comes to shove, he has 2 straight games against better NFC East teams in the Commanders, the Giants just lost to, and the Cowboys. So now he comes to MetLife Field riding this wave of 2 straight amazing performances. There's a lot to prove. Is he going to play with the chip on his shoulder? Did he think at the time that there was a realistic chance that the Giants were going to take him at 6th overall? Did he feel slighted by Joe Schoen, the Giants organization? We don't know. But what I do know is this. You're right. This is Joe Schoen's final straw, and he's gotten a million chances. And I thought we've had this discussion. I feel like I've definitely had this discussion with a bunch of my friends of like, well, if Joe Schoen loses out and the Giants lose out, Joe Schoen's probably gone, no? And other people said, oh, no, why would he be gone? I think the writing's on the wall if they lose out, especially this game. And I'm looking for a silver lining in all of this. And that's that. I talked about this last week. Silver lining in the Giants losing out is Joe Schoen's gone, but this is the first step. It could be the last step too. Like, let's say even the Giants, let's say JJ McCarthy throws to 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, the Giants still win. That's still an awful look, right?
Yeah.
Like that's as good as a loss. And it's a massive loss, especially when the Giants need to lose games right now. Neither one of us are rooting for losses at this point, but you don't want this close game in which JJ, I guess that actually be the best case scenario, because that would be a bad thing for Joe Schoen, right? Because you want Joe Schoen fired. You also want the better pick. A loss and a blowout would be good, but that would be whatever.
A loss is a loss, no matter what.
Both worlds for a lot of people, because they want the win and they want Joe Schoen gone. Dude, I mean, like, I look at this game and I'm like, I see JJ McCarthy piecing the Giants. Like, I think that's where this is going, and we'll get to that in the game picks. Bryce is right.
Bryce, by all means, skip fantasy versus reality. I think why do this by format? Let's get
you
to
think
Bryce.
So? You think so? That's totally cool with me. So
Bryce, we got 2 wins. Anything goes. Let's get to Bryce is right. If it ties in, why hold it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. All right. My Bryce is right of the week. I kind of insinuated this. JJ McCarthy is going to throw for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's going to lead the Vikings on a game-winning drive. To win, and I'll get to the game pick. I'm not going to reveal my final score. I guess you can kind of assume what that will be. It'll be a close game. JJ McCarthy is going to put the team on his back. Again, I think he's going to be playing with the chip on his shoulder. MetLife Stadium, 10 people in the stands. It's going to be freezing cold. He has been clowned on social media. He's been clowned in the media. All this different stuff of him being a bum. Everyone says it, and he hasn't been good. But he's riding this hot wave, and I think that this is his. This will be his culmination of destroying these NFC East teams all in a row. And what better time and place to do it than against a team that's reeling, a defense that's given up with the best defensive line, what we thought the best defensive line in football is completely given up. Dexter Lawrence doesn't even want to show up to the field. He probably shouldn't. There's no better time for him to continue to prove himself than here. That's my Bryce is right. Like, I'm just like, here's the thing. Like, usually I'm more long-winded and there's a lot to bounce off of you. It's just one of those weeks where I agree with the majority of things you're saying. And the Giants, again, are 2-12. I'd love to give more facts. I'd love to give more statistics, but like, do you guys want to listen to that? You guys
that's exactly
sit here and listen to all that kind of stuff?
Understand this to our audience here on One Giant Step. I believe this to be true. Look, I've worked a lot of radio. I've worked a lot of podcasting, and God, I've worked a lot of bad Giant seasons. And the one thing I've learned above it all is understand the situation and be respectful of an audience's time. We are in a busy time of the holiday time, and the Giants have 2 wins. You guys are taking the time to listen to One Giant Step. We're going to give you the most entertaining podcast we can with fun 100%. Factoids, make you think about the game, like we brought up the Joe Schoen final straw thing. But there's no reason for me and Bryce to stretch out our words and give you a 50-minute podcast if it doesn't warrant that. So that's fine. Bryce could be sure. We could agree. Why it's okay.
And listen, you speak the majority of the time. I'm not going to chime in if I agree with you. I'm not going to be like, yes, Shaun, sounds good. You're right. Like, I'll chime in if I think you're wrong, but what is there to be wrong about? We're talking about objective things. We're talking about opinions that 99% of the Giants fan base agrees on. Joe Schoen, bad. JJ McCarthy, good. Like, these are all things that, what am I going to say? Well, again, we agree on the majority of these things. And listen, I do echo those sentiments as well. We appreciate anyone for tuning in and listening to our podcast. But at the end of the day, if you want the in-depth breakdowns, I'm sure that I can't imagine many people are out there looking for a 50 to an hour podcast. Like, come on. And if you are, look yourself in the mirror and realize that there are other things to this world. There's other things to life than the New York Giants. It's Shaun Morash.
Now, if you are looking for a 50-minute podcast, of course, we'll be on Talking Giants as well. Also,
there you go. You're welcome. I see you right up for that.
Exactly. So here we go now. Fantasy versus reality. Maybe you are looking for, hey guys, what, honestly, or maybe you're somebody parachuting in and going, that's the podcast to listen to, where I'm thinking about a player prop for the game. We were all over Theo last week.
Yeah.
For me, man, in the fantasy versus reality segment, it's a Tyrone Tracy game for me this week to try to look. If you're Mike Kafka, and you have some fingerprints all over the offense, and you're the head coach of the team, and you're trying desperately to not leave this interim head coaching spat winless, right? Like, you don't want that in yours. You at least want to walk away with a win. What is the best avenue for you to do that? Well, the best avenue for you to do that is to understand that your defense stinks. That's probably the unit that's more likely to quit on a game. So how do you keep your defense off the field? Well, Tyrone Tracy, little by little, seems to be cooking now. At least a little bit. He looks better. He looks healthier. I think that injury way earlier in the season derailed him. Then they took off with Scadaboo, and then he came back. I don't think Tyrone Tracy had been healthy early in the year. He seems healthier, and he seems like he has a burst. I think this is a Tyrone Tracy, horse game. How do you keep Brian Flores from, just teeing off on Jackson Dart with some blitz and some exotic looks? Because you know that Brian Flores wants to win this game, knowing the Giants have fired the coach that they hired over him. I think that's just leaning on Tyrone Tracy, who I think could rush for, between 80 to maybe he gets to 100 yards if he really gets cooking on the ground here, and breaks the will a little bit of the Vikings. Again, cold weather outdoor game for them. Not that it's going to be as freezing as last week, but nonetheless. And Tyrone Tracy seems to be finding the end zone as well. So for me, it's a Tyrone Tracy fantasy game. Now, as far as the reality of how the Giants can win this game, dude, it's simply this. How about for starters, they play a clean special teams game. Last 2 weeks, they've given up an enormous return for a touchdown. At least 2 games they played. I know the bye week was in there. And last week, just Koo being completely lost, who, by the way, has been waived, and the Giants will go with their 8th kicker in 3 years. Ben Sauls, the young kid out of Pitt, will come. Now, I'm going to tie this into the reality part, and I didn't get to it earlier. I'm actually semi-excited for this. Look, Ben Sauls could go out there and be a complete disaster. He could be Jude McAtamney all over again, and we never hear his name again. We go, oh, my God, how is this guy the kicker? But Ben Sauls was a guy that was brought in a couple weeks ago on the practice squad, and it was something where I was just saying, thank you, Joe Schoen, because it's exactexactly what you should be doing. You should be trying to find young kickers out of college that had good college kicking careers, and find it, because that's the best way the Giants are going to have to find a kicker here going forward. They're going to have to find a young kicker.
I don't mean to cut you off. I have this feeling. I have this premonition. The Giants are going to find their kicker that they're going to have for the next 10 years.
Ben Sauls, you think is going to be the guy?
What?
You think Ben Sauls is going to be the guy?
It could be him. It could be some guy they finally draft. Yeah. It could be an undrafted or
they better
free agent. It could be a guy they sign in free agent. I just feel like if Joe Schoen's gone, I feel like, karma. It's not karma. I always use karma in the wrong way, but the Giants are due. They're due to find a kicker. Graham Gano, was he that guy? He was good for.
He was good. No, Graham Gano was good.
The best player on the team.
And then he got old.
Madden ratings, to the naked eye, all that kind of stuff. But they have not had a kicker. And listen, Lawrence Tynes, I'm not going to disparage. I'm not going to put down Lawrence Tynes.
Tynes was more than the Super Bowls, dude. He had a good career. What happens, though, Bryce?
He was a good kicker. I'm talking about them finding their future kicker for the next 10 years.
When I was growing up, Brad Dalluiso was that guy, and he was great for a lot of years. Bryce, actually, what's crazy about the Giants' history is they're really good at finding kickers, which is what's made the last 3 years insane. They've been really, really good historically at having good kickers. It's just gotten out of control, and they didn't know when to say goodbye to Graham Gano and hurt him. Ben Sauls may or may not be the guy, but that's the kind of guy the Giants should be targeting, even if it's in the offseason. So this is a good 3-week audition. Maybe he's a disaster this week and they move on. But if he's not, I'd like to build on it. But the point of the reality of the game is just make the kicks, don't give up a return. And as you've seen for most of the year, Jackson Dart will do enough, even with drop passes, that your offense will, even last week, your offense still finds a way to keep you in the game. And then obviously defensively have Abdul Carter build on his big week a week before and go, be a menace to JJ McCarthy. And then suddenly start checking the boxes and go, okay, well, the Vikings really shouldn't bully and blow out the Giants in that scenario. If all of those things are done, then it's just a matter of can the Giants finish off a game? So that's my fantasy versus reality. I'll wait to get to the game pick, but first, Bryce, you.
I can't believe this, dude. This is going to be the 3rd straight week of the same pick. I mean, and here's the thing. We've been right all 3 weeks. I know we had Theo last week, the week before, I forgot exactly who, but we've been right every week. I'm going Tyrone Tracy. When you look at where the Vikings have gotten exposed the most in the last few games, it's on the ground. Javonte Williams, 15 rushes, 90 yards. A couple games ago against the Packers, Emmanuel Wilson had 2 touchdowns, 100-plus yards on the ground. This team is very susceptible to getting beat on the ground. And I'd love to sit here and tell you Theo Johnson again. I'd love to tell you Darius Slayton, Hodgins. You're right about Brian Flores. This is going to be a tough, the way that Brian Flores is able to disguise, his blitzes and all that kind of stuff, it makes it very difficult, especially for a young quarterback, to navigate that, to check at the line of scrimmage, and all that kind of stuff. Like, who are you going to trust the most? Yes, the safety valve has been Theo Johnson. They've developed a rapport. But you're going to trust a guy in Tyrone Tracy who you're going to run the ball a lot, right? Inevitably, this late in the season, you've heard a million times. I know you don't agree with it, but the Giants have clearly taken this precaution of not running it with Jackson Dart as much as they were in the first 6 starts that they had. God damn, I've done it so much lately. God damn it. No, but like, Jackson Dart's not running the ball as much, whether it's a Brian Dable directive and he's gone now, or this Mike Kafka or Joe Schoen. He's not running the ball as much. They're going to run the ball down the throats of the Vikings with Tyrone Tracy. Devin Singletary is going to get in there and a little action. I think Devin Singletary, take him anytime touchdown. He's going to steal a touchdown from Tyrone Tracy. You can take that one to the bank. But I look at this game. I just think the script sets up perfectly for Tyrone Tracy. Now, the reality of the game is this, Shaun. They got to make JJ McCarthy go back to what he was earlier in the season. You can't have him play this well as he played against the Lions. You remember the first game of the season against the Bears? He had a really good second half. He's played about 8, 9 good halves of football in his career. You can't let this be 2 more. And as I mentioned, he's riding a hot streak. He's started to build up some goodwill or good grace, whatever the phrase is, amongst the Vikings fans, amongst the national media, amongst the casuals who have been ripping him left and right, Shaun. This is another opportunity for him to build on whatever the hell he's building. So the Giants can win this game if they get to JJ McCarthy, if they rattle him early, if they get him out of this rhythm. He's looked good. He has. We all watched the Cowboys game last weekend. We saw what he was able to do, and albeit the Cowboys defense has been terrible all year, especially their secondary, but JJ McCarthy has looked confident. He's made the right reads. He's been able to move the chains with his legs. You get to him early, you rattle him, and you make it extremely difficult for them to put up points in the first quarter. And then you build on that. When you get to a rookie, he's essentially a rookie quarterback, right? You've missed the entire season last season, of course, on the roster, it's his second season. But when you fluster a rookie quarterback like that, this early, a guy who's riding a hot streak, a guy who's playing for a lot, with all the critics in his ear, he can derail his entire game. So I think it's very important the Giants defense, makes his life difficult early on in the game. That's the reality for how the Giants win.
Okay. The Giants are 2.5-point home underdogs.
I saw 3. I think it might have been, it might be 3 now.
Okay, so it depends what book. I literally am staring at FanDuel right now. And it's at 2.5.
You can get it 2.5. You get it 3. Let's go with 2.5.
We don't have an official partner on a sports book, and I encourage everybody always to do this. Shop around, because whatever the number is, and it's going to fluctuate depending on where it goes. Right now, it's at 2.5. I know the Vikings got some bad news injury-wise on the defensive front. 2 players were ruled out. Greenard. Why am I screwing up his freaking name? Whatever. I
don't think anyone.
Jonathan Greenard.
Yeah.
What the hell's his name?
I also just saw this. It went in one ear and out the other.
All right. Bottom line is this: they got bad injury news on the defensive front late Wednesday, and I think that's kind of tilted this a 0.5 point. All right. Here's where I'm at with the game. I think you kind of get one of these fun back and forth games a little bit. I think the Giants are going to build a lead at a time. I think Dart's going to go out there and continue to make plays. I think we talked about Tyrone Tracy, and I think he's going to run the ball well. I think Ben Sauls is going to make a big kick in this game, like a long kick, and you're going to go, oh, wow, okay. Ultimately, I think the Giants are collapsing in the fourth quarter again, late. I don't know what the lead necessarily is going to be. I kind of got a kooky score for you. I think the Giants are going to be up 24-23, 24-22, something like this. And I think there's going to be a big play to a Hawkinson or to a Justin Jefferson. I think the Giants are going to lose a game on a weird score, 29-24 late, a lot of kicking garbage cans over and going, can you believe they blew another fourth quarter lead? Where ultimately Giant fans get kind of the happy thing where it's like Dart played well. He looked good. He slid a bunch of times. But, man, this defense again found a way, and this time it's like Justin Jefferson burning them. So I will take the Vikings to cover the 2.5. The Giants lose 29-24. Bryce, you.
Unbelievable, dude. I'd love to sit here and disagree with you on any of this. I think this game is going to go to a very similar route. Like, I can sit here and tell you, like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to echo all these sentiments. I'm just going to give it to you exactly how I think it's going to happen. I think the Giants are going to lose this game. And, dude, I think you've gotten to 7-7. You've had an amazing comeback. You started off terrible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a feel of what this team does and what the opponents are. To be fair, I'm going to not, Bryce, I'll let you finish. I'm not trying to pat myself back. Both in real gambling picks I've made on the Evan and Tiki show, and I'm in like another like big pool with like some of my close work friends. I'm having like an amazing year of just kind of reading. Basically from October on, I'm on a heater of just kind of reading the right side of games. I just am. That'll probably regress back to the means next year, and I'll have a donation back to the sports.
Quit while you're up. That's how you should quit while you're up.
I'm having a great year.
Delete all the gambling apps and
I'm reading the NFL really well this year.
That's the right thing to do, no?
Yeah, September was rough, but it should be because you don't have a feel for the teams. I've had a good year since October. But anyway, go on.
I kind of lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
You hate to agree, but like I've had a good heater, 7-7, but you kind of
I'm 3-11. 3-11. Wow. If you faded all my picks, congratulations to you. I think the Giants are going to lose this game, so I'm going to take the Vikings minus. I guess we're going to go 2.5 here. Mm-hmm. The Vikings are going to win 27-23. It's going to be a close game. Jackson Dart is going to do Jackson Dart things. He's going to look very efficient, effective earlier on in the game. First half going into the second half. I think third quarter is going to be very solid. I think everything is going to go to you-know-what in the fourth quarter, not necessarily due to what Jackson Dart may or may not do. It's going to be due to what the Giants defense does. They're going to give up early. JJ McCarthy is going to put together an amazing drive at the end of the game. They have an opportunity to tie it with the field goal, but they go down, they score, they get 7, and the Giants lose the game by 4 points. And the Giants, there the entire time. People are upset with another loss. And I think for a lot of people, it's going to be like, all right.
Right.
On to the next one.
On to the next. Bryce, I find this truly funny because we did about 3 minutes on how we're not going to go with a long podcast here, and we're well north of half an hour.
Every time.
It's unbelievable.
How is possible?
All right, so we'll be back, obviously, to recap the pod, whatever the disaster may be.
Hey, again, don't put this team down. That's not a disaster. Come on.
Well, I was saying the disaster is either going to be that they look like a disaster and lose, or they win a game and people are really upset because they've screwed up the number 1 pick. So either way, you probably walk out of there feeling like it's a disaster, depending on where you are.
The end of every Giant season. Lose. Everything is lose. You can never win.
Exactly. All right. So that's where we're at now. Look, obviously next week is the Christmas week for those that celebrate. So Bryce and I will recap the pod early in the week. And then what's weird is Christmas Day falls on a Thursday. Christmas Eve's a Wednesday night. That's usually podcast recording time. When you look for the kind of I need a break for my family, I can't stand them on Friday, One Giant Step will be there for you. So don't worry about when we're going to tape it. You'll have it for you on Friday next week on the preview episode. But remember, the reaction episode will be there for you at some point on Monday.
We should do like a holiday special. I'm going to come up with some ideas.
Okay.
We're going to do a holiday special. I'm going to spend my time this weekend preparing some amazing content for you to all indulge yourself in on whatever holiday you celebrate, whether it's Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever.
Bryce, if you're an ideas guy, bring an idea to the table.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to screw it. Why not?
All right. Thank you, everybody. At Shaun Morash, at Bryce Gelman. Thanks, everybody, for taking One Giant Step with us.